The Aftermath, every Sunday morning from 6 o'clock on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
But James Sullivan joins us right now. G'day, Sul.
Hello, Marty Shortte, listeners. How are we, boys?
Going really well, thank you, Sol. Nice to be catching up with you on this Sunday morning. Let's rip into the NRL action. Some wonderful games there over the course of the weekend. Let's start with the bad news again with my mob. The Rabbits, they've gone under 34-22. They had a good crack, though, in this particular game, but the outcome, Sol, is that they walk away with less soldiers heading forward than what they had going into the game. Just when you think it couldn't get much worse, I think that it is there at Rabbit Land.
Yeah, no, you're right, Shorty. And as you say, at the end of the day, they did have a red-hot crack, but the Sharks were always in control and went on with it. And the bare figures, when you look at it, the Rabbitohs have won 5 of their last 19. So that could be the sword for Dimitri. Unfortunately, for Jason Dimitri moving forward. But, mate, it's like you said at the top. They've copped some injuries, and they've copped more last night. Luckily for them, they got the bye, which they'll roll into the bye, gives the guys a little bit of time to recover. It's tough, but they're reserve grade 1, their New South Wales Cup side 1, their 20s drew, so, they're still coming through, even with all these injuries. But big win for the Sharks too. They needed that coming off the bye, so yeah, trouble times at the Rabbits lands, but we'll just see what happens in the next 48 hours, I reckon.
The Warriors come from behind 16-10 down at half-time to draw with the Sea Eagles. Tell us about this.
What about this game?
Yep.
What about this game? Sean Johnson goes the miracle play. As the siren sounds, he goes the 2-point field goal, gets chopped. So they're trailing by 2 points. He goes the 2-point field goal, gets chopped in the act of the field goal attempt. Probably a little bit unlucky. I know you can't touch him. They get the penalty right in front. Johnson, mate, gets up, the legs, bangs the penalty goal, and that's where it stays. The golden point, and we have our first draw of the year. So, yeah, mate, it wasn't much between, but, well, at the end of the day, there was nothing between them. But another high-quality game. This Sea Eagles side, they do get a golden point draw every so often.
On to the Eels-Cowboys clash, and it was a late drop goal that just secured the points for the Eels. They were 6 points in front, but they made good with that field goal late in the piece to go home 7-point winners over the Cowboys.
Yeah, big reunion night out there at Eels, and us, mate, what a turnaround. They got absolutely spanked last Sunday afternoon. And mate, it's 2015, the Cowboys last won against the Eels in Sydney, and it stays that way. Yeah, I mean, the Cowboys will be very, very disappointed with that performance. Dejan Arce came in the halves, and he helped things with Dylan Brown, so they rolled along nicely. They led all night, and then, as you say, the Cowboys, I'm pretty sure that they're in Sydney again next week. They really need to sort this Sydney, their performances in town to go forward. But, mate, you talk about massive wins at the time of the year. That was massive for Brad Arthur and his Eels.
Yeah, it certainly was, and it was a win they needed. They're just an inconsistent bunch, aren't they? Friday, the 2 Friday games, Storm, geez, they made hard work of this, but they finally beat the Bulldogs 16-14, and the Broncos always over in charge of that game, I thought, 28-14 over the Dolphins.
Yeah, you're right, Marty, about that earlier game. But at the end of the day, I think all credit goes to the Bulldogs. Josh Adokar came back. He loves scoring tries against his old club and scored plenty of them.
Hat-trick.
And, it took a late try in the 78th minute. Sean Bourse, scores a try. Meany kicks the conversion, and it's 13 in a row. It just had that feeling about it. As we know, the last time they lost at home was in round 2 last year to the Bulldogs. So straight away, they got away with it. 2 weeks in a row, they've got away with late victories, haven't they, this Storm side? So, and as you said, Broncos always in control. The Hammer, unfortunately, injured for the Dolphins, but Reece Walsh came back and just lighted up the field. Jeez, he's good to watch.
Indeed, and of course back to Thursday, it was the Chooks 22-20 winners over the Knights. Interesting looking ladder now as well. So the Sharkies sitting on top of the table there with the Storm, both with 4 wins to this point in time on 10 points. Then we're down to the Cowboys, Dolphins, Panthers, Warriors, Sea Eagles and the Raiders in the top 8. Let's look at the Sunday action upcoming. 2:05, we see West Tigers taking on St George Illawarra. Should be one of the games of the round. $1.81 for the Tigers. Dragons at $2. That line plus 1.5 for St George Illawarra into $1.84. The minus 1.5 to win by 2 or more for the Tigers out to $1.95. And the later game at 4:15, Canberra 135. The Titans at 3:20. Line betting there sits at 8.5. Talk us through your Sunday play, Sol.
Well, I tell you what, boys, grab a coin out of your pocket and toss it in the air for this first one. Holy dooly. The West Tigers versus the Dragons. Incredibly, though, Dragons have got a good record against the West Tigers. And West Tigers, they tell me Campbelltown will be packed. 17,000 it holds. It's nearly sold out. They've lost their past 8 there. That's the concern for me. Boys, this one, my play, I can tell you what my play is, David. I'm going to go the win 9+ margin, and there's a little thing there, either team to win by 8 or less. I can't split them. So we'll go that way. And the next game, tough trip for the Titans. So much to play for. And, Marty, you mentioned it before. We've seen these sides who look like they're down a little bit, all of a sudden lift, and you mentioned the yields. Can the Titans do it here in the nation's capital? I'm not sure. It's just the way they concede points. The only thing when you look at it, Ricky Stewart is 6 from 25 against Des Hasler coach sides.
Oh, wow.
Won't he be telling the boys this week? Enough of that.
Yeah.
I like what I saw last week from the Raiders, if they can continue to play the same football. Young Chevy Stewart, 18-year-old boy. Have a look at him, lads. Very, very talented kid. Makes his debut. 18 years of old. Slips into the fullback position. He's only a little fella. But I'm going to go the Raiders, I think. So if we lock those two up, I think either team to win by, as I said, 8 or less, and then the Raiders at the Lions minus 8.5. I think we can cover that at 3.91. I tell you what, lads, it's been a good weekend for our Thursday and Friday followers. Our Sunday followers, it's their turn now. So we'll go that one, as I just said. Then we'll go to Dragons, Zach Lomax, into the Raiders, Seb Chris at 5.59. Try any time.
5.59. Well done, yes. The big multi got up on drive. That was a ripper on Friday night. That was over $7, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, the Thursday, the boys, the try-scoring one, the Pappenhausen, Cobbo, Nanai, 11.50. There was a bit of cheering going on last night.
Oh, so we've done away with the beer. We're on the champers at the moment. Well done. Keep it going. Let's hope we can get it today.
Marty, I might throw one more in.
One more.
In case.
Yes.
One more. Let's go same game combo. Raiders to win, said Chris to score, 3.15.
They've been good to us. Yeah, the same game combos.
I like them.
Raiders and Chris, how much is that? 3 what?
3.15.
3.15. Beautifully done, Sol. We'll listen to you on Thursday and talk to you again next Friday and drive all the very best.
You stay safe. Have a lovely Sunday, lads.
James Sully Sullivan there. Golf Masters update, so turn away if you don't want to hear the score. But Scheffler, he's been up and down. He dropped 2 to go 4 under. He's back up top of the leaderboard at 6 under with Morikawa 6 under. DeChambeau's been up and down a bit as well, but he's gone from 6 to 4 back up to 5 under. Maxi Homer, your man, he's 5 under. And then Højgaard at 4 under. There's plenty there. I'll tell you, he's made a bit of a move. The one we threw out, and he was way back as Schauffele, but he's finished, but he's got it to 2 under. So he's put himself into a position to charge on the final day as well.
Absolutely, yeah. It's not been the easiest of courses for the punters to be dealing with. That is for sure and certain, Marty. Nobody's really dominated throughout, but the man that was in the sublime form heading in, the 5.50 favourite at the start of the tournament, is at the top of the leaderboard there in Scotty Scheffler. Time now to talk a little bit about the Sandgroper upcoming, of course, on Thursday night. It shapes up as being one of the greatest races WA greyhound racing has ever seen. And one of the slot holders for the big race is owned by one of the great mates of this station. He's a voice that you'll recognise instantly. He's been on many of our programs over the years, does an unbelievable job with the team there at Punters HQ. And we speak of Joe Lannutti, who's been good enough to pick the phone up for us on this Sunday morning. Welcome to you, Joe. David Shortte and Marty Young with you. Welcome to the Aftermath.
Morning, Shorty. Morning, Marty. How are you?
Yeah, we're well. Joe, yourself?
Yeah, always battling, but doing my best.
I'm glad to hear that. Was a big night over there at Wentworth Park, semi-finals of the Golden Easter Egg Association Cup Heats, finals of some other series. We'll touch on that a little bit later. While we're speaking today, though, of course, as Punters HQ, you guys have a slot in the Sandgroper on Thursday night, and it's the current favourite for the upcoming series in Explicit. Trained by Jason Thompson, this greyhound trialled last night out there at Cannington before the first race got underway. It came through as a 5:51, 13:84, 18:48, 29:75 overall. Very serviceable. I think it's probably fair to say, though, that Explicit is a dog that races better than what it trials one out. Would we be fair to say that?
Yeah, I'm surprised he broke 30, Shorty. But, yeah, 29.7. What was it, 29.7, did you say?
29.75, yeah.
Yeah, perfect, no drama. Very much box draw dependent, the race. But, yeah, I haven't talked to Jason since the trial. But, yeah, we thought if he broke 30, it'd be very good. So, yeah, he's a dog that certainly races a lot better, and he didn't trial real well before Shepparton, and he came out and blew them away. And obviously, in the Lee, stepping up the Group 1 company, he won in 29.6, I think, by memory. So, yeah, there's no fears. We're happy with him, and a dog with early pace at Kennington, as you've always told me, is very important.
Oh, it's a very nice recipe for success. Now, this dog has been prolific in its career to this point. It's just been a winning machine. It's got that really good early pace and has rubbed shoulders against some of Australia's best sprinters. You guys were one of the first slots to announce your runner and lock this dog away. This is one you've had on your radar for a pretty significant period of time, aiming up and set for this race.
Absolutely. We had him prior to the Phoenix, actually, so early December, sorry. We were very keen to get him. Even prior to having a slot, he was a dog that we just thought it'd be ideal for it, a young dog on the rise. And this campaign's been fantastic, as I touched on. He won the Shepparton Cup, he won the Lee, and the whole campaign's been geared towards this race. No Easter egg, avoiding other races for this. Full attention from Team Thompson and the owners to target the Sandgroper, and touch wood, everything's perfect and ready to go.
That's really, really exciting. Now, it comes up against probably the hottest field that you could handpick almost at the moment. There's probably 3 or 4 going around in the Egg Series that would certainly say something about that at the moment, particularly McKenna off what we saw there last night. But that said, it's just a stunning lineup. I'll quickly talk you through the field. If you tuned in and you haven't heard what it does sound like, there is just quality dripping from top to tail. So Explicit, the greyhound that will be running for Joe and the team at Punters HQ, is now co-favourite with Big Energy, who unofficially broke the track record in a trial earlier on last week. The Tap Touch runner Morton is $7. Trooper Tears at $7.50, fresh off a hot trial last week, and it went really well through the Perth Cup Series. Mapunga Smoky at $9, Fernando Phil at $9.50, Hector Fawley at $13, and the local, the sole Sandgroper in the Sandgroper, 1v7 Vic, Sunset Fraser, is the $16 outsider in this field. Joe, it's an unbelievable lineup. There's a lot of early pace in this race. As you've touched on, this box draw is going to be crucial.
Very much so. It's a Victorian free-for-all, isn't it, really? But Mr. Hobby, who won it last year and very well respected, so any of the dogs could win, as you'd expect in a slot race. And, I suppose off a 29.7 trial, Shorty and Marty, maybe the trader can push this dog out a little bit, get him back out to the $15 he opened pre-post, maybe. But,
yes.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, clearly the box draw, nobody wants to be drawn outside Trooper Tears and maybe Sunset Fraser. He's the speed and fence crasher, I'm told. I don't follow it closely, but listen, we're not asking for too much. Maybe Sunset Fraser 1, Explicit 2, Trooper Tears 3, if possible.
We'll do our best. Now, that box draw, this all-important box draw, will be on Greyhound Gossip tomorrow, live on Tab Radio from 9 a.m. Shorty, it'll be rating the place out.
Big style, yes. Peter O'Neill, he's fizzed right up, Pete. This is the time of year he does get right up for. I'll be joining him. We'll do the box draw. We'll hear from our chief trader, Hamo. He'll have an update on this market, and we'll have a bit of a look into the crystal ball and see if we can try and work out very quickly after the draw what might be happening in this big race. Exciting to be a part of the big one, though. Joe, yourself and the team there at Punters HQ, though you've been involved in a number of slot races, it always brings enormous excitement.
Absolutely, Shorty. Yeah, very much so. And we're locked in for 2 more years after this one. So we've had a runner in the Phoenix and then had a slot in the Phoenix as well. And I think we finished maybe 3rd and then 2nd. So hopefully looking to go one better. But, they're very hard races to win. And we're just excited to be part of it. And we'll continue to throw a hat in the ring if we're allowed to. And try to team up with the right camps and the right dogs and give ourselves every opportunity. But it's just a huge thrill. WA have done a great job. Western Trilogy, we've got Shane over there representing us, and then Brad and a couple of guys are flying over, and they're very much excited. They tell me the Wednesday is the biggest day of the 4 days, so they're bringing their drinking shoes.
So they should. And as you mentioned, Shorty, prior to the draw, at 320, 320, Explicit and Big Energy, Morton at 750 Trooper Tears. If you had to have a pick before the draw, which way are you going? You don't want to put your hand up?
I honestly don't. Because most times, 100%. Yeah. Like most times, if there's a dog that's massive overs in a series, I'm happy to get involved. But until this draw is done, the whole thing could flip around, to be brutally honest.
It could really flip this market.
The market could almost be flipped around, depending on exactly who draws where. And as Joe alluded, Trooper Tears, if it draws 8 especially, its trials have been close to record. If Big Energy draws to get a clear run, it's going to trim right up. The dogs that draw immediately outside of Trooper Tears will probably go out in the market because it does tend to get up a track a little bit. It really does just depend on this draw. But it's going to be some race. And Joe, wonderful night of chasing over in your neck of the woods. You're no stranger to success when it comes to these big Group 1 nights over there in Sydney, and we've been left with an excellent final for the Golden Easter Egg. And what about this dog, McKenna? Absolutely airborne over there at the moment. 29 and 29 last night. They're taking out its semi-final. It's in rare form right now for trainer Michelle Sultana.
8 slot holders are very happy that she's not over in Perth, Shorty. I'll tell you that much. She is arguably the fastest greyhound in Australia. Can't do what she's doing. It's reminiscent of She's a Pearl and Fernando Bale at Wentworth Park. The splits are insane. I don't know if there's a market out for the egg, but tipping she'd be odds on. She opened 18. She was into 15, 12. I think $5 before the semi, and I think the race is over. If you reverse the boxes with her and Furness, if she went into 1 and Furness 2, who just wants to use a bit of the track, she could be 3s on. Honestly, this is, do your best. She'll be winning.
Okay, Joe, I've got that box. I've got the market. McKenna from 2 is $1.90. Zipping Megatron at $4.20 from 3, and Nadal Sheba from 4 is $7.
Well, Marty, you want to oppose odds on. You want to oppose odds on favourites in big races and do your best to get against them. I thought the same last night, but the more you look last night, she was just unbeatable, and the same I think in the final. 190 because it's a big race. She might touch black odds, but gee whiz, she'll just win, Marty. Get some early Chrissy money.
This is Joe, you're involved with the great bitch She's a Pearl, and she was an amazing talent. And, of course, you're also involved from a trip across here in WA with Keshi Boom. She's back trialled last week. She's not too far away from getting back to the races as well. Yeah, I'm just a very happy passenger, Shorty, going along for the ride with you and the crew. And, wow, what a first campaign. Probably hard to live up to that again in this next one, but having the time of my life. And very quickly, Shorty, I'll touch on we've got a small share in Nangar Larry, a couple of the crew from HQ, and I just want to wish them the best of luck. He'll be big odds in that Golden Easter Egg final, but to make a Group 1 final as prestigious as a Golden Easter Egg, they'll all be there and they'll be cheering hard. And yeah, you can't win it if you're not there, so give him strength.
Well, he's box 7 and $10 at the moment, so he's not the worst in that race. Joe, fantastic to have you on the Aftermath today. Keep up the good work and all the best in this upcoming week.
Beautiful. Thanks, Marty. Thanks, Shorty.
Cheers, Joe.
The Aftermath. every Sunday morning from 6 o'clock on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
Cascadians last of all. This is unbelievable. Pride of Jenny about 30 lengths in front in the Queen Elizabeth Stakes. She keeps going, coming up the rise. At the moment, Mr. Brightside is being challenged by Kovalika, and then came Buckaroo, Via Sistina. She's winding up. She's getting to second, but Pride of Jenny at the 200. My goodness, 15 in front. Declan Bates goes for the whip, riding a ride out. There's no need. This is a demolition job. Pride of Jenny in the Queen Elizabeth Stakes. My, oh my. Via Sistina second. Mr. Brightside
Darren
third.
Flindelli will wake up this morning and say, did I actually call that? Did I see that? Joining us to talk about is Chris Nelson. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Marty. Good morning, Shorty. And, wow, what one hell of a spectacle that was, wasn't it?
It was fantastic. What were your thoughts?
Well, I watching and thinking, wow, yeah, she's going to come back to them. Yeah, she's going to come back to them. And I thought, I don't think she is going to come back to them. And that's probably because, and I was looking at through the X or Twitter this morning, and I saw on RaceNet, they had some GPS data, and she was 38 lengths in front at the 700-metre mark, according to the data, at 91 metres.
Wow.
Almost 100 metres, but that's an awful lot of ground to be trying to make up over a 2,000-metre journey. Chris, I was speaking to Marty at the top of the program today about this. It's almost the unbeatable style of racing, but you have to be the supreme athlete to make it a reality. And Marty and I were saying, after the actual race, the comments from beaten jockeys and trainers was, it's disappointing and embarrassing, and all of these different words were being rolled out, but nobody did anything about it.
No, everyone was happy afterwards just to blame everybody else. I think one of the jockeys back in the field said that one of the others should have been the one to take the other horses up to Pride of Jenny. Well, why him? Why didn't the other ones do it? So, and J-Max, Shorty, you touched on what J-Max said there when he was interviewed post-race and just said embarrassing. I'd love him to go into that more, whether he was embarrassed with his own effort, other efforts of jock. I don't know, but I'm gathering he was talking about himself.
Well, it's hard to know. Was it an embarrassing performance from the horse, from the other jockeys? It really needed elaboration, but there was none. And I guess that's what really has added to the intrigue of the post-race chat.
Yeah, and he wasn't hanging around to elaborate either. He said what he said, and he was on his way. So, yeah, it was such an exciting and interesting race. As I said, I was just waiting for Pride of Jenny to come back. Well, she did, but she still won by 6.5 lengths, and yeah, the others, well, they were in another race and they never really got close to her. So is that the way we're going to see her ridden every time now? I know she gets out with big leads as it is, but maybe they'll be that big in the future. Who knows? Well, but I don't know. I think they'd like their time again, Marty.
Yeah, the big thing about her was her condition before the race. Listening to Kieran Maher and Tony Otterbray, the owner, is that she actually dumped Declan Bates before the race. She was feeling that well. Yep. And the owner couldn't believe the job that Kieran had done. So she was at the top of her game again, so she's as tough as old boots. And if you listen to Deck Bates, he had no say in it. She just said, right, I'm going, and this is the way I'm doing it. You know, from the 12 to the 1,000, I think she ran an 11.1 over 2,000 metres. That's why she was able to be, 98 metres in front when they went to the 900. But just outstanding stuff, and, yeah, great to see. So that was the Queen Elizabeth. Massive day two. Started off really with the Percy Sykes Stakes over the 1,200 metres for the Group 2 for the 2-year-olds, and it was Anisa and Peter Moody and Catherine Coleman had a very good day there yesterday.
Yeah, they sure did. They certainly did. And Anisa here, ridden a treat by Damien Lane. He's one of the best. I mean, we saw a really good mix of jockeys land the winners in Sydney yesterday. Jamie Carr got a couple. Mark Zara was there. Damien Lane was there. Declan Bates, as you mentioned. So not just the Sydney jockeys dominating. Anisa and Lady of Camelot here, they both were about 4 lengths off the lead. Anisa had the rails, though, and Lady of Camelot was off the fence. And she went wide around the home turn. Anisa took the shortcut. So that was the ride, the difference there. Not that Blake Shin could have taken the shortcuts. And then she wound up really well, Lady of Camelot late, but the other one had dashed a length clear inside the 100-metre mark and then held on. I thought on the line, the last 10 metres or so was definitely holding Lady of Camelot. She had put in that big burst, but I thought late she was being held. Erno's Cube was good running on, but there was one here, guys, and I'm sure you saw it. Elmorzillo, he was an absolute cracker.
Kelly Schwader, your man.
Yeah, and he's trained up here, and he's obviously going to head towards some bigger races up here. I'd say the size, if possible, and the JJ would be the target for Elmorzillo. But that's 2 runs he's had in Sydney now at Randwick. The other one was in that Rich Inglis Millennium earlier in the season, and he was held up badly there. This time around, I reckon he's made up 4 lengths inside the final 200 metres on Anisa and Lady of Camelot. So absolutely flying, Elmorzillo.
Indeed, yeah, it's a pretty nice form when you're rolling in and taking ground off those horses that you know are at that top level of this bracket heading forward. So Elmorzillo popping into the Black Book punters. Onto the Group 2 Arrowfield 3-year-old sprint. It was a tight finish, and it was Jamie Carr with Jolie Star that got the bob in, holding out heads. Nearly a race-to-race double for Damien Lane. Libertad was back in 3rd, and Corniche rounded out the first 4.
Yeah, she's a ripper, Jolie Star, and Chris Waller post-race watching on telly was a big rap for her. Obviously, he said she was a star. We hadn't seen her. She'd won the 1,000 Guineas, of course, in the spring, and look, the gap's just open for Jamie Carr here, and all the leaders basically stopped. They went pretty quickly both ends of this race, but the first 3 out were the last 3 home. Likes of Schwartz finished back in the field. Osmosis, should I say. He had a lovely run, about 2 lengths off the speed, and presented at the right time in the straight. Looked like the winner, but he didn't find the line at all, Osmosis. He was disappointing, and then from the back came Jolie Star through the pack. And Jamie Carr didn't have to weave her way through. They all just parted for her, and she just went straight through. Jolie Star hit the front, hedged, flew late, but just missed. And not sure how much we'll see of Jolie Star this or into the winter. He doesn't want to run her too many times, Chris Waller, because he's looking forward to a big spring as a 4-year-old for her. So, yeah, she's definitely one to look out for in the spring.
Just got one way back in the field that got held up real crucial stages of the straight. Mumbai Muse. We backed her when she won on Oaks Day at Flemington. Don't know where she's going to go. Michael Friedman did mention her last week on the program. Just follow her next start. She was very good.
She pulled up with a slow recovery too, Marty. So
okay.
Another tick for her.
Well, it was the Oaks, the Australian Oaks, and it was taken out by Autumn Angel, defeating Zardosian Orchestral in a stirring 3-way go.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't think that form from the Adrian Knox last week would stack up against these other fillies, the likes of Zardosian Orchestral. It did, and she was the strongest late. I mean, she won the lead-up race. I think it was the Ethereal. She won in the spring in Melbourne, and then she didn't go to the Oaks. So they changed their mind there. With this in mind, and they got the money, Peter Moody and the owners. Dozy was game, Orchestral, every possible chance. J-Mac said she's probably come to the end of her prep. She's had 6-7 runs this prep and an overseas trip. So, there's probably a fair reason for that. So we'll see her in the springtime. But, yeah, all honours with Peter Moody, Catherine Coleman, Mark Zara and Autumn Angel, who were just way too strong late.
On to the Schweppes Sydney Cup. This is over the 3,200 metres. Really nice lineup assembled, and gee, this was a big win, an emotional win for Andre Atzini. Come across to take the ride here aboard Circle of Fire. It was a strong performance. This horse put itself into the race and just kept on trucking in that home straight. Just there were contenders there, but I like the way that this horse just dug in and went on with the job late in the piece. Athabaskan was very good, finishing runner-up. Calipour back in 3rd, and Serpentine been a nice preparation for that galloper. It was back in 4th. A horse that just keeps on trucking, but all honours here with Circle of Fire. And at the moment, when the big races over a trip are on, Kieran Maher just has these horses supremely fit.
Yeah, he does. He does, Shorty. And look, if this horse had have got beaten, the jockey would have been comping it all over social media, because he was 3 wide, no cover from the 2,400-metre mark. I don't know how he won that race. Just probably shows up how bad our stayers are. I don't think he's any superstar. I think he's a really good horse, and he might head towards a Melbourne Cup. I'd have a crack at a Melbourne Cup. If you can have a horse that sits 3 wide, no cover, and wins over 2 miles, yeah, I'd definitely have a go at it. But yeah, it's some of our locals, they're not up to this grade. And when we get these imports here or ex-UK gallopers, they're far too good. Athabaskan and Calipour, yeah, they franked that Tancred form. They, of course, ran well in the Tancred. Calipour winning it, and Athabaskan running on strongly. But It was either a huge performance or the opposition weren't that strong. Maybe a little bit of both. But, that was an enormous win to sit that wide all the way.
Yeah, very emotional, wasn't it? He was riding for his mate Stefano Churchy, who had lost his life in Canberra. He was only 23 years of age, and they obviously were mates back in UK. And Stefano's parents were there at the meeting. Isn't it strange that Kieran Ma would ring Atsini in Hong Kong to ride this horse in the Sydney Cup? Now, would he have known about that connection or not? It just turned out that way because
I don't know. Sorry, Shorty.
Yeah, go on.
No, I'm not aware. I'm not aware of the connection, Chris. Did you hear any? I didn't hear all the interviews. I was in here yesterday and didn't hear sort of the live interviews straight after the race. But there looked to be a pretty significant connection between Atzini and the parents. I'm almost certain there may have been potentially a request put in by them to maybe have him come across and ride the horse.
Well, I must admit, when I was doing the form earlier in the week, and I did like this horse's run last start, and thought I looked at the form and thought, well, who's this bloke? At senior, I had no idea who it was, so I had to jump onto Google and find out who he was. But he's been riding in Hong Kong. He's got a lot of experience. He's a very accomplished jockey. So, yeah, it was a strange one. It's just a bolt out of the blue. He's not a guy that we've seen out here before that I can remember. So I think you're right, Shorty. I reckon there was some connection there.
Okay, and then the next of the Group 1s, it was Chris Waller Quinellering the Queen of the Turf with Zugotcha. What a autumn she's had, holding out a tissue. I thought a tissue may have grabbed her on the line. It was a... Shorty was obviously...
Wish she had have, Marty.
Yeah, I think Shorty did as well.
Oh, dear. Been some fortnight, Chris. Been some fortnight. Right now, I'm not the biggest fan of cameras.
Oh, yeah, you're right. So, Zugotcha, Marty, she's had a great autumn. She was a little bit written off for the last prep. She didn't come up that well at all, but she's been really good this prep. And look, she had the run here. She had the run. She was fourth defence, box seating. She hit the lead at the 100-metre mark and she stole a break. And then a Tissue, who was held up and copped a bump there at about the 300-metre mark. You would have seen that, Shorty, I'm sure. And she got clear at the 200-metre mark. She probably made up 4 lengths on Zugotcha in that last 200 metres and just needed one more bound. And she was there. She was outstanding, I thought, at Tissue. I don't know where she goes. I was sort of half hoping we might see her up in Brisbane for something during the winter, but I doubt that very much. I'd say she'll go for a break and see her in the spring. But, yeah, both horses well worth following. But I'm with you. I thought a Tissue probably was a bit stiff.
Waller post-race said that the horse just didn't come up in the spring, so they gave her a longer spell than they normally would, just let her get back to being natural. And then he said the other thing, we've put her in the right races, but she's drawn beautifully in all those races. Have a look what she's drawn, 2, 2 and 1. Makes a big difference, doesn't it?
Certainly does. Yeah, it's to not have to spend those petrol tickets early on in an event to get to the spot you want to be is really, really advantageous, Chris.
Yeah, it certainly is. And look, she just seems to get these box seat runs all the time. And once J-Max got them in those positions, you know they're going to win from there. And Shorty, don't worry. If you're getting, someone told me once, if you're only getting beaten marginally in these photos, it'll turn around. Your form's good. You're just not far away. So,
ironically, it's a very similar scenario with my football side over the last fortnight as well, Chris. They've been beaten in photo finishes as well. When's this going to end?
It'll end. I just don't know when.
Chris, now while we're on this subject of football, your boys, the Tigers, are over here playing the West Coast Eagles at Optus. Yeah. I want to know from a Tiger fan, what do you think?
I think we'll be disappointed if we didn't win, given the form of the West Coast Eagles, no matter where we played them. So that's being honest. So a lot of young kids, which is good because they're our future. As I said before, our future isn't Tom Lynch and Dustin Martin and those guys. The young kids are the future, so the many games we can get into them, the better, and there's some good ones there. So I would hope for a not a dominant win, but, 30, 40-point win.
Okay. Anything there for the punters to get involved with in your neck of the woods later on this afternoon?
Yeah, we're at the sunny coast and pleased to say we're on the grass now with the fine weather. Race 4, number 5, I Am a Marvel. You can back each way. Race 5, number 13, Moonfleet, has looked really good at the trials. And race 7, number 2, Houston Rocket, have something each way in the last. We'll get back, but we'll run on strongly. So maybe just something smallish each way. Okay,
beautifully done, Chris. We'll run through them for our listeners again later on in the program. But we'll listen to you on Wednesday and again on Saturday morning and then chat again next Sunday.
Look forward to it, guys. Have a great Sunday.
Thanks, Chris.
He's a bitty. Chris Nelson. I don't know about this game, Shorty. I'm perplexed.
So have a quick look at the market.
Look at them. They're into $2.80. Now, they were $3.40,
$3.40 and
wow,
$132 Richmond. So Tigers are $132 out to $144. West Coast $3.40 into $2.80. That line was 20.5, now into 13.5.
Blah, blah, blah. Let Marty Young and David Shortte do all the talking on the Aftermath. Sunday morning at his best on Tab Radio Racing and Sports.
Very good morning, Ralphy.
Good morning, boys. Bendigo had their standalone day, and credit where it's due. That track could not have played better. That was absolute superb way to roll out your big day of the year, and they did it very well.
Very good to hear, Ralphie. Let's go through this program. We'll go from top to tail and zip through them. Samuel Langhorne in the first. The leader, My Rock Alley, looked to have a race-winning break. It was home. It was out by a big margin, but Samuel with that big Langhorne was too strong that last little bit, nailing My Rock Alley, and Divis Romulus got a long way back, ran home for third. Well,
it's easy to stamp the Black Booker, but that is a Black Booker. Divis Romulus, that was just given no chance in the run, the way the race unfolded. So well done to Celine Gaudray. That was a ride and a half. Funny, when you're not involved, you tend to barrack for the leader, don't you?
Yeah.
So she nearly pitched it. Good ride. Samuel Langhorne in the perfect position. But, yeah, Divis Romulus, easy to stamp a flash home horse, which I don't usually do, but I am this time. It's going to be winning next start. It's good talent.
Miss Philly Bowl Bastile's putting them together now. She'll go to the showdown after that win in the Gold Rush yesterday.
Yeah, I'm still not sure how good it is because it hasn't really been tested, has it, against the best? And it's running nice times without breaking the clock, but they've won $700,000, which is pretty good work. So I'm sure Kieran will get the boys back into it. More horses going forward out of that.
That is the truth. That's a nice little clip on the way through. On to race number 3, benchmark 70. It was Brazen Lady, Too Good for Intrepid Eagle and Electric Impulse.
Yeah, very basic benchmark 70s, but I think Angry Skies, they've got it right now. It didn't have a lot of room in the straight, not so much because of the traffic, but because that was second up. I think it'll peak and probably 1,400, 1,600 would be perfect for it.
Coco Sun won the 4 for the McAvoys. Young Jayla Kennedy seems to be riding a few winners at the moment.
Agree. Yeah, she might be the Black Booker rather than the horses, but Coco Sun, they threw her in the deep end as a spring filly, and she didn't really come up, but she was good first up and really good, and she was just good again on the clock. She was dominant, so I wouldn't be dropping off her. Golden State Warrior was probably the perfect first up run over a mile, and I'm sure they'll be delighted. Probably go to 2,000 into the city and will probably win, even though I was beaten 5 legs.
Yeah, it did hit the line nicely. On to race number 5 on the program, Boyle over here. It was a photo finish. Many of the punters that had stepped into Moby Dick were hoping that this camera might have gone the other way, but it wasn't to be. The $61 outsider of the field, Atlantic Spirit, turning over Moby Dick.
Yeah, regular reminder that anything can happen once the barrier's open. So a couple in the market didn't turn up. Extremely Rowdy didn't turn up. Skybird raced like it was leading the mile. It didn't have any zip in its legs, even though she was a good talent in the spring. Moby Dick just gets bloused, and really what it showed was he lost his speed in his legs from those 1,200 runs, and he was back to 1,100. I understand why, but he's a really good talent at 1,400. So well done, the big odds winner, and coming off 2 wins in its own right. Not much on the clock, but it was just in the right spot and got the money over 1,100. But I think Moby Dick is the one you'd want to be following out of this.
Okay, Senegalia looked impressive for Celine Gaudray and Kieran Marr.
Yes, Blake booked it last start, and no, I didn't. Stayed out of the race yesterday like a genius, so it was just good again. And it's Coles Ridge is a first-up specialist, won this race a couple of years ago, ran well again. Is It Me, you would think, would be the obvious for the bull, but I would say Red Hawk Nick, they've got Stokes's team has got it back on track, raced on speed, gassed out late. It was only $12. It had a missed preparation, but been jumping out really well coming into this. So I reckon they've got it right. So I'd love to see back at Caulfield in a similar sort of benchmark race. I think it'll be very hard to beat.
All right, on to race number 7 on the program, the Bendigo Gold Bracelet. It was Lady Jones arriving for Ethan Brown, defeating Fire of Etna and Marble Arch.
Yeah, another Black Booker that we put the circle around last start. It was a sound win, shuffle dancer. Thought it was overs, and my goodness, it gave a good kick. So it's right now. It went from a nothing run, jumped out all right. They've got it back on track and ended up being presented with the lead once the stablemate Nunthorpe missed the start. So I think Shuffle Dance is one we can follow with a bit of confidence. She showed she's got really good ability as a spring rather last year, and I think she's going to go on with it. So Shuffle Dance are one of the black bookers from the meeting.
Okay, race number 8 was the Bedigo Guineas. War Machine. Now, news broke during the week. Mike Moroney not in too good a condition in hospital, so this must have been would have been a bit of a fill-up for him, and Jordan Childs was the jockey.
Yeah, let's hope so. He's a ripping fella, Mike. But this horse is a really good talent. Had some upside that you just had to respect. Its Cranbourne win was dominant and fast on the clock as well, as was its Kyneton win. So that's 3 from 3. Just wasn't sure where it fit in with the Roll on High, but I think Roll on High was pretty disappointing. Sunshine in the Pocket had a little bit of traffic, but don't underestimate the winner. It's going places. It's a really nice horse.
Alrighty, so a nice wrap on the winner there. On to race number 9, the Golden Mile at listed level. It was El Soliard over Patrick Maloney defeating Sabark and Just Folk.
Yeah, just need a little bit of a moment here, Shorty. Yep, Sabark just got hours late. The nice big odds there. So that was just a classic case of Robbie Lang doesn't mind getting horses fit and keep you fit, does he? And as he says, you can't make money sitting in the stable barns, and that horse didn't have much luck, but it's just going around and racing consistently. So all credit to the stable there. But yeah, Sabark's got good ability and it's jumped out well. I thought it was ready to run a mighty race, and it did. Probably. I'm talking about game of inches here, but just different lanes on the track might have been the difference in hanging on, but really it was fitness. So El Soliado, well done to the team there, Robbie Lang, but Sabark and also Just Folk, they were the perfect runs, and Foxy Frida ran a usual consistent race, but certainly Sabark's in for a ripping prep.
We've always had a wrap on Chorlton Lane, back into an 84, did look a good thing in the last.
Well, yeah, and the only sort of head-scratcher was lining it up with the stablemate. It's always,
extra 2, yep.
Always a challenge, because, you just got to see which way the stable likes them. In the end, they both ran at their best, and I agree with you. Short Lane, it showed phenomenal closing speed first up last prep, showed glimpses, didn't quite really go on with it. Well, from this win now, just put a big circle around it and follow it, because I wouldn't even be surprised if they take it to Queensland that wins the stakes race. It's got serious ability, and to do that first up, if that's what you're doing first up and in your second local prep, it's absolutely one of the black bookers in the meeting. Green Fly, they've got right again. Extra 2 is just your usual consistent sort of horse, but Green Fly, you certainly want to be on it now at the mile. But of the winners on the day, War Machine, Chorlton Lane, put big circles around there, and I think at odds, Shuffle Dancer, Red Hot Nick will run big races going forward, but Divius Romulus amongst those have got beaten as well.
Excellent work. Racetrackralphie.com.au is the spot to go for all of Ralphie's fine work. Ralphie, thanks so much as always for your time. Enjoy your Sunday.
Good on you, boys. Talk next week.
The Aftermath, every Sunday morning from 6 o'clock on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
Let's now catch up with our man Bradley.
On The Aftermath, it's time to introduce the 1985 Brownlow medalist from the Footscray Football Club, Brad Hardie. Introducing the boy from Hilton, the AFL guru, Brad Hardie.
Very good morning, Bradley.
Morning, Marty. Good morning, Shorty. Good to be with you, boys. What's been the feedback? Can we all just pass the hat around and maybe give the jockeys in the big race to maybe some money to get some binoculars just to check out where the leader was?
Yeah, they lost sight. They lost sight of the money, but I don't think they would have gone. But no one would have beaten them, mate.
No, that's true. But just looking, it was odd, wasn't it? Because every race is different, but the time was like
2:02.
2:02. I mean,
it's funny, isn't it?
Wasn't it like it was Vo Rogish or something? 1:58, 1:59 or something like that, And home in the last, lucky to break 38 on the way home.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
What are you saying, Brad? You're not saying this is some sort of a boatie or anything like that, are you?
No, not at all. I'm just wondering. I was on the talking through me kick. I was at the double going with the Faith. Arguably the best horse in Australia. They said at the time, and just didn't really get a run for our money.
All right, now, Masters update, so turn away now if you don't want to know what's going on. But Scheffler's finished for the day, and he's 7 under. So he's got out by a stroke from Morikawa on 6 under. It's done for him for the day as well. Maxi Homer, your man, Shorty, he's 5 under. Arberger's 4 under. DeChambeau, he's just... anyhow, he's dropped down to -2. And the Aussie, Cam Davis is 2 under. Cam Smith, 1 under, and Schauffele is 2 under. So, of all of them, Homer's on 17th and DeChambeau on the 17th. So he could be plus by the time this day's the big Bryson.
The boots are in there, Mart. The boots are in on Bryson. Not your favourite. But Scheffler, as we touched on, was the form player coming in. 550 favourites. It's pretty trim for a tournament with this much quality. But right about now, the fellas that did put that price up look like they're pretty close to the mark. Onto an odds-on quote. Maxi Homer, though, excellent third round, goes in 5 under for the round. Now let's Bradley talk some AFL action. My goodness, have there been some form turnarounds this particular round? It's all kicked off on Thursday night with Brisbane turning the tables on Melbourne. My goodness, didn't Melbourne look like they were in dire need of a lay down at the end of that match?
No doubt. And look, I have been at pains, Shorty, honestly. I mean, we try and assess it the best we can, and you're not always going to get it right, and you're not always going to get it wrong. But you just look at it and you said to people, just keep your powder dry for another month yet, because you should be seeing more of this, I reckon, Marty. You know what I mean? Like, the players are still relatively fresh, fit, up on the ground, as long as your team hasn't got a huge amount of injuries, and there's, let's face it, probably Richmond have at the moment. There's not too many others who have. So, I was like you, Shorty. I think we were so close, Marty, yourself and I, talking on Thursday, that, we probably could tip Brisbane, but you had to see them do it. You had to be convinced, because what they'd done so far hadn't been convincing. But geez, they put on a stellar performance, and I don't cop it, Shorty. I don't cop it. Melbourne have played 3 games in 13 days. Big deal. I mean, everybody has. And no one's travelled as much as probably Brisbane, Fremantle and West Coast have. So, what are they talking about? I just don't get that. But well done to the Lions. They look like they're gone a month ago and now look like they could even be back in contention, one would suggest. But again, they've got a fair month ahead of them, but a really good start. And Melbourne, and when they talk about 3 games in 13 days, boys, it was the staff of Melbourne. Maxi Gawn, he's on the pension.
Yep.
On the pension, he's running like longer and stronger than anybody. He's 39.
Yeah, I agree.
Seriously. So
I agree. He was just
well
everywhere, wasn't he, Maxie? He was fantastic. Here, off the text line, Brad, for Retrovision. Marty, please explain Essendon's form to me. I'm totally confused. That's Mark from Vic Park. They were too good for the Bulldogs, 96 to 67. They bought some effort, and all of a sudden that effort was good enough. But I think the hot talking point's all about the Western Bulldogs out of that match, isn't it?
Yeah, to a degree. I mean, people are overreacting a little bit, not because I'm biased towards them, but, coming into the start of the season, both Essendon and the Bulldogs were in the similar frame of mind. Similar talk, if they do their best, they'll be somewhere there. They were set up for the ambush. I give the kudos to Brad Scott, because for the first time, Shorty, this year, somebody in any game, for that matter, has said, well, what are the strengths for the opposition? Well, the strengths of Bontempelli and Liberatore. So let's actually pay them some attention. Let's not let them run around and have it 35 times like the week before against Geelong or anything like that. So good on him. He made a statement and said, okay, you don't have to go man on everyone, but at least pay some attention. And it was no shakes that, English was double-teamed. He was poor. Bontempelli was subdued. Libba was subdued. So from that point of view, there goes a lot of the drive from the Bulldogs. And Essendon, their confidence grew as the game went on, Marty, didn't it? And I just felt as early as probably, because everybody thought, it's close enough at half time, the Bulldogs will run over them, and that's probably what we all thought the map would be. But 10 minutes into the third quarter, I said to my wife, I said, we're in trouble here. We're in real trouble. I mean, and then when you get players, and I say it week in, week out, and they're good young players, still rising, but when you've got Jamari Ugle-Hagan, 14 points behind, 30 metres out, Shorty, directly in front, bring it back to 8 points, game on, and you miss, and the whole team just deflates.
It's a recurring theme, unfortunately, Brad. It does happen a bit. He gets his mitts on it, but he's still not 100% locked up when big moments in games are there. He's not a lock to be putting it through the big sticks just yet.
No, and that's the problem. I said that last year, a game with Norton, and Norton, he ended up with 2 goals. And if you picked up the paper today and you said, look at the game, Norton got 2, and Hagan got 2. What happened to the Bulldogs? Well, they were sort of fleeting. You know what I mean? And look, the kids had a bad night. So that's the way it goes, and that's going to happen with young players. But well done to Essendon. They deserve their victory, but now they've outed themselves a little bit, because they've got to do it again and again and again. And yeah.
Brad,
exactly.
There's one recurring theme that's never been any different since football has started, and this one comes down. It's got nothing to do with your ability levels. It is hardcore pressure and tackling on the ball carrier. Now, the recurring theme again this season in all of the games where form's been flipped around and sides have improved sharply, doesn't always have a lot to do with how they use the football, but it's generally got an awful lot about every player in that team turning up, switched on, nailing tackles, putting pressure on the bloke that's got the ball in his hand. All of a sudden they look nervous with the ball in their hand, and how the game changes so very quickly.
Oh, it does. It does. And as you say, and the team that's putting on that pressure, Shorty, all of a sudden just a couple of deflections, a couple of things go your way, and all of a sudden your confidence levels are up, and away you go. And that's the beauty. That's what they talk about momentum swings and the like there. And talking about a momentum swing, I mean, I was sort of obviously watching a bit of the racing yesterday, and I was watching the Giants and St Kilda, and I thought three-quarter time, I said, I can turn that off. I don't need to worry about the last quarter. Deary me. I had to go back and watch the mini, Shorty, because I got a text message from a mate saying, geez, St Kilda were unlucky. I've gone, what? What are you talking about? They were 6 goals down, like three-quarter time. The game was over. And they found a way to come back. A couple of injuries there to some key players for both sides. Not sure how King pulled up after for St Kilda, but certainly there was a couple. Canelio, that's good. He's been in really good form. He's come through okay, and so is Taylor allegedly. So, but that was a terrific game of footy, and went down to 1 point. And you thought your tipping's going to be, 3 games and 3 outsiders in a row. We thought there was Marty talking about it during the week. We thought, there's probably a few outsiders, and 2 of them have lost so far, and there's one more to come today, which is West Coast outsiders against Richmond. Well, one of them's going to win, but we nearly had 3 upsets in 3 games, Shorty.
You just don't know, do you, in this game? Like, they lose Taylor, Caniglio, Kelly's pulled up with ribs, and Briggs a shoulder. Now, you would imagine there's going to be 2 or 3 of them missing at least for next week. The competition's so tight. You can have a day like that and things just flip around, don't they?
Well, Shorty, you have a look at it. I mean, I'm sure you've got it there closer to you than I have right now. Have a look at the next month for GWS. It was so important for them to win that one, Marty, and I don't say that flippantly. They say, this and this. But you have a look at their next month. It is not gimme sort of games. They're going to be quite interesting. What have we got there, Marty?
Well, they've got Carlton at Marvel, then they play Brisbane at Manuka, Sydney at the SCG, and Essendon at Marvel. So it is a tough, but they've had a blessed start to be where they are undefeated at the moment. So.
Well, we talk about that all the time, don't we? You've got to have a good start to your season because you can go through a little bit of a lull wherever it may be. But, a lot of those teams running up to the Giants, would have thought, oh, God, we've got them coming up shortly. But, now you look at it and you think, oh, hang on, we might be a silly hope of getting involved in it. But well done to them. Carlton last night or yesterday afternoon, just got to 16 points out in front, and you thought, well, done now, surely, and folded up and went back, rolled back the clock about 18 months where they were losing those tight ones, and they didn't do that well at all. And again, form reversal. You thought that anything pride like Essendon, any with their pride in your jumper, you'd come back and have a real good crack, but. Finally, it seemed to me that, Rankin, just discovered one out of the box. I mean, he's been specifically playing forward 50, Marty, hasn't he? He sort of got on the ball a little bit and 20-odd disposals and 3 goals. That's a stellar game, from him. And, Walker looked a little bit more agile and, whatever. And so they did it. And less ball to Dawson, Crouch, Laird, as I say, stats are stats, but if you're not doing anything with the ball, it doesn't serve your purpose. And, so well done to Adelaide getting up late in that one through Berry to pinch the points.
Yeah, 28 shots to 20. There's so inaccuracy there for Carlton. But what about there's a score review controversy here as well. Are you across that one?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I think many times I hope they got it. As I said, I find it really, really difficult. Some are just clear cut, aren't they, Shorty? And by the instruction of the AFL, the goal umpires have gone upstairs, and it was a couple of times they've asked for a little bit of freelance and just sort of said, listen, let us make a decision. We're making it to be look like fools. And
well, they did then yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. And I just get the funny feeling, you just wonder. Sometimes it's so grainy, isn't it, Shorty and Marty? You think, is his finger coming down, because that's the natural reaction, or is the ball actually hit his finger, or it's all a bit too hard. You'd think in a game, a multi-gazillion-dollar game, they'd be able to get better than what they've got.
We're looking for the cameras, but we'll keep using the 30-year-old Hitachis.
Looking for the gunman in the grassy knoll half the time. It's how grainy it's vision from the 70s.
The box brownie.
Unbelievable stuff. Brad, it does show this competition that the AFL many years ago wanted to equalise things and have a competition where almost any side could play the other and it'd be a good game of football. I tell you what, they're pretty close to what they wanted. There's not a whole lot between top and tail, and what it has resulted in is just some wonderful contests, and not always the prettiest, but really, really good contests. And I think Port Adelaide Freo last night was a really good example of that. It was tough. Freo, look, their football might not be the most attractive, but it's effective. And I'll tell you what, as a fan, it beats the garbage that they were serving up last year. They're in games until late. They had their opportunities late. Banfield inside that forward 50 in the last quarter missed a couple of opportunities. Sarong missed one. Brayshaw missed one. So they're right there in the mix, but they just need to tidy up their finishing skills in front of the big sticks late in the game.
Yeah, no doubt. And look, they've got to get that overlay of scoring right, Shorty. That you're 100% correct on that. I mean, the last two games between them and Carlton and them and Port essentially has been played between the 250-metre arcs, excessively so, 5 goals or 6 goals at three-quarter time, I think at some point they've got to try and branch away from that and take a risk, because why I say that is because when you come up against the better sides in Melbourne in a final, they're going to be able to outscore you, and that's the key to the game. It's holding them in good stead at the moment. Shorty, you're 100% right. They dominated ball possession, over Rosie, Butters and Horne-Francis. Last night, Sarong. Brayshaw was a little quiet for his standards. I think he got closer to 20 than not. Sarong had it 29 times. Young's got to be a little bit more instinctive, Shorty. I just want him to do his first thought's his best thought. His best thought for me, kick the darn ball, mate. You're the best kick in the team. So don't go looking to try and be too cute. Don't try to look laying it off. You kick the ball and get that in there, into that forward 50 very, very quickly. Clark's run was dented a little bit in the third after three-quarter time. And look, we talk about it all the time. There's a lot of coins of phrase when it comes to footy and jargon and all that sort of stuff. And you may not be having a good game, but you may be able to have a moment. Well, you wouldn't believe it. Charlie Dixon, was absolutely pants by Pearce and had a moment and kicked a goal, took a great mark, and can thank Giorgio for taking that mark, by the way. And then Horne-Francis, who was very, very quiet, very subdued in the first half, found a little bit of the ball in the last. And, of course, Walker, who'd had a really good game, like Pearce, you wouldn't believe it. Arguably two of your best players, caught out, in situations where it's very hard to control, and the 2 goals pinched the game. So, yeah, they'll kick themselves in the pants, Shorty, I think, coming back. And as I said, and again, coming into the seat, you've got to be wary of these sliding door moments. You had one last week. You don't want to have too many. They've had 2 in a row now. So they've got to try and manage that going forward. They're going to be in a lot of games, Fremantle, the style of football
because they play that way, yeah.
Yes, they play that way, but because they're all going to be low-scoring games. But you know what I say, Shorty? You're never out of a low-scoring game. It was proven true again last night.
The other match, Gold Coast, way too good for Hawthorn, 109 to 56. Yeah. I was surprised that so many people gave Hawthorn a chance. I did say on Straight Up, Gold Coast are just morales here, but surely, and I just felt in that press conference that Mitchell's now feeling the heat. He put a bit on Hawthorn. The time has come, hasn't it? They can't be.
Well, he should be. He should be. No, he should be. It's the worst start since 1975 or something like that, 0-5. And I agree with you, Marty. I think what we were looking for sometimes they say you start the next week the way you finish. No one finished better than them the week before, did they? But they never looked like it. They just didn't look hot. And, they bounced out Gold Coast to 3 goals in a heartbeat, and they never, ever recovered. And I'm just not sure exactly where they're going, to be honest. But what about these kids for the Gold Coast, Shorty? the 5 goals between them again, Marty, last night, is just terrific. And a couple of them are big boys, and Closey was fantastic again. I'd be surprised unless Harley Reid pulls one out of his backside today. He'll be the nominee for the Rising Star because he should have probably got it equal. He could have got it the week before. So another couple of goals, ran at 89% off the boot. Unbelievable. So they're going really, really well. And let's hope if you're for the AFL and the competition that finally that southeast corner of Queensland might be finding a team that actually can be half all right.
I can't see any reason why not. I thought they were very good the week before against the Giants, and they'd been sort of the form side to that point. So I think that form was franked, and it's held up really well here. They're definitely on the right path. They're well coached.
Definitely.
They've got, and what I love, he's bringing these young guys in and giving them an opportunity. So someone like Closey, as you just touched on, Brad's come in and the confidence levels are high. He's been backed in.
Yep.
You sort of flip that the other way to someone like Riley Sanders at the Bulldogs, who are having a bit of a rough trot the last fortnight, gets subbed out of the game, throwing bottles at the ground and getting cranky. It's how they're just sliding door moments for young people in their career. One's on top of the world, come in at the right time. His side's winning. He's on top of the world. Sanders on the flip side, he's an amazing talent, but really frustrated to be getting subbed out of the game and not a part of it.
Okay, Brad.
Yeah, at least he cares. At least he shows he's caring.
I love him.
Reid was fantastic again last night. The big boy from the Gold Coast in his second game, so he's done all right. So there's and there's that other boy, the really big lad. Just his name's Walter.
Yeah, Walter.
What sort of a footballer is he going to be?
Yeah, Jed Walter.
Like when he's a big boy now, but he's still
puffy,
not like a giraffe.
Yeah, a little puffy at the moment, isn't it? Wait till you strip him down a little bit. They did lose Roses with a hamstring as well. He's been playing really well for them. So 2 games today. Do Geelong cover the line at 57.5? And what about West Coast? They're into 280 now from, I think, 340, wasn't it, Shorty? And Richmond are $1.44, line at 13.5.
Well, yeah. Look, I get the feeling with Geelong, they'll just do what they need to do, and look, I think they'll be playing rebound footy. That's what I think. So if you're a possessions disposals, get on Sheasel, Wardlaw, McKercher, they're just going to get a ball. They're going to get a stack of ball, but I think Geelong will just say, well, okay, you have a go and do your best, and then we'll just take it off you, or when you turn it over, we'll take it back down the other end and we'll give it to you. Hawkinson's not going to have another quiet one. Jeremy Cameron was stellar last week against the Bulldogs. If he does that, they'll get somewhere near that line for sure, Marty. So I'm just thinking that maybe Geelong take North Melbourne a little easy, and maybe under the 57.5 might be the way to go if you want to back anywhere around at North Melbourne. And West Coast have been saying it all week. If they're going to win a game, and I'm going against my own grain here. I said you don't worry about who you haven't got, you worry about who you have got. Well, Richmond, you just can't ignore it, can you? I mean, like they've just got so many that have just fallen by the way. So Taranto on Friday, had they had Lynch or Bolter last week, they'd probably pinched that game against St Kilda. I'm not sure they can bring it again. They're hyping up the Dusty versus Harley thing, but I'm not even sure it'll eventuate, to be honest. I mean, I don't know if they'll even shake hands on the way past. But, I'm not sure if Shai Bolton doesn't have one out of the box. I think the one thing about Richmond, though, as you say, it's not about personnel, Short. It's what's going to be between the ears for them again. If they can stump up what they did last week in the first half and really work for one another, and it won't matter who's out there, the names won't matter. But West Coast have their best chance. If they don't win this game, I'm not sure when they'll win one.
It is a very good opportunity for West Coast. And if you're tuned in and you're a West Coast fan and you're tossing up whether to go or not, so get out there and support your side. I'll tell you what, it's easy to get on board when you're going well, but when you're doing it tough and you get a game like this,
at it. I reckon they're being good at it.
They've stuck in there pretty well, but stick with them.
They've got about 40, haven't they? I reckon they'll get a few more today.
Yep.
I'm with you.
Anybody in their right mind should realise that this is a winnable game.
Big time. Yeah, and it's a beautiful day to be at the football as well.
Lisa of Ellenbrook sent one in on the Retrovision text line, Brad. Morning team. All this talk about Harley, Dusty, fend-off is a joke. Harley has played 3 games. Dusty has played 290-plus games, kicked 330 goals, won 3 flags, Brownlow medalist, 3-time Norm Smith medalist and All-Australian. Harley has a lot to learn, needs to concentrate on playing his role and helping his team to get the 4 points. Brad, since when has fend-offs been a stat? Dockers fans can't blame the umpires for the loss. 9 points up, and they could have bagged the 4 points. They had their chances. Enjoy your week, everyone. That's from Lisa.
Yeah, no, good observations there, as usual, from Lisa. And look, I think, as I say, that's the first time I'd ever heard that stat last week, Shorty. You know, he broke 7 tackles. Well, Robert Harvey broke about 14 million, you know, and so they're at different ends of their career, but I don't think you want to hang your hat on there. I just see that this Harley Reid stuff, boys, as a deflection of the hole that West Coast are really in. Yeah, they could win today, and it might be all rosy for 24 hours, but they've got some deep-seated problems there. Barash shouldn't be playing. He's not right. You can see that. He's being forced to play injured because similar to what Yo was in previous seasons, because they just need him. They just need him, you know, and I'm worried about that. A lot of their kids haven't come on, which worries us all. You know, Tim Kelly's Tim Kelly. Yoey's back in some really good form. McGovern will intercept Mark. They've got all that. They don't really have a forward line as such without Oscar Allen. Yeah, they've got some really deep-seated problems. So what do? They just keep pumping up the Harley show, and that deflects the attention from most of the people like yourself, Shorty, and myself and Marty, who look at this really, really forensically. They're still in a world of hurt. They might win today, but they're still in a world of hurt. So, but again, I just see it as a deflection tactic.
Flemmo, Freo very stiff with a couple of obvious free kicks in the closing stages, but scoreboard pressure is the best pressure, and Freo need to score more, as you guys said.
Well, the interesting one is going to be the Butters v Banfield. You know, I mean, on the initial, I mean, with the camera angle that we had, obviously we were seeing it from the broadcast side. You weren't sure. You thought, oh, maybe he's put a bit of mayo on that. Then you go to the other side of the ground, Shorty, and clearly he got clocked. You know, and the AFL don't like that. So it's going to be an interesting time for Butters. You know, whether he meant it or not, it was split-second stuff. But you know, they're trying to rule that out. Unfortunately, Bailey Banfield got up, you know, shook his head like an old ram, and you know, ran away. But the bottom line is that they don't like that. They don't want that. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Given what happened with Pickett last week, I'm still seething about that. The fact that he only got a week.
Same here. Loans 1, 2, 3, and Retrovision bring you to all of the programs here on Tab Radio. We'll listen in again tomorrow morning on the Sports Daily, Brad.
Certainly, boy. Do you want my
Oh, hang on, the Sunday Saviour. Apologies. Yes.
Come on, Ginger's sitting by the phone.
Yes.
Let's go to Terang Race 2, number 8. C Missed, $1.90. It'll be winning. And let's go to Wellington. The Wellington boot today, Shorty. Your beauty. Wellington Race 6, number 3, Dasho Lenny. $2.30. That's one of the they're in real good form, aren't they, at the moment? And in race 8, number 12, Jet Empress, $2.40. So Terang Race 2, number 8, C Miss Marty, $1.90. Wellington Race 6, number 3, Dasho Lenny, $2.30. Wellington Race 8, number 12, Jet Empress, $2.40. $10.50 there, boys. That's a good way to spend your Sunday afternoon watching the footy.
Good on you, Bradley. We'll tune in tomorrow morning on the Sports Daily Terang Cup Day, and it is Narrogin Cup Day today as well. We'll take a break.
Sunday morning, we will do the talking on the Aftermath with Marty Young and David Shortte on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
Yes, and Simon Hill joins us as well. A very good morning, Simon.
Morning, guys. How are you?
Going very well. Probably not quite as good as your good self. Man City back to the top of the table there in the Premier League, and very, very impressive 5-1 winners there overnight, defeating Luton in strong fashion. It's not a bad spot to be on top of the Wazza.
Yeah, it might only last for 24 hours, obviously, because Arsenal and Liverpool are both in action later today, but it certainly put the pressure back on the other two. Obviously, City were expected to win this one, but they were frustrated for long periods, to be honest. I mean, they had 37 shots throughout the 90 minutes. Luton were camped in their own defensive third, but they defended very, very well. City got an early goal, an own goal, but then really struggled to find the second. It eventually came in the second half. Mateo Kovacic with a brilliant finish. Erling Haaland adding a third from the penalty spot after Jeremy Doku had been fouled. Doku got a fourth after Ross Barkley had briefly brought it back to 3-1. That'll be a frustration for Pep Guardiola that they can't keep a clean sheet. And then another lovely finish from Josko Gvardiol. So City back to the top, but only 2 points clear. And, of course, having played that extra game, which will be caught up by the other two today. And the bonus, I guess, for Pep Guardiola is that he was able to rest a lot of his established first teamers. He essentially played, well, not with the reserve team, but certainly 5 or 6 players who are not first-choice picks. And that allows, players to get some rest ahead of the big second leg of the Champions League quarter-final against Real Madrid on Wednesday. So exciting times. We're still on track for the double treble.
Spurs dropped to 5th with that costly loss to Newcastle, 4-0.
Yeah. I'm not sure I saw that one coming, to be honest. Tough game, obviously, going to St James's Park, and Newcastle's injuries have healed somewhat over the last few weeks, which has been their big problem this season. But they got absolutely smacked this morning, Spurs. Alexander Isak and Anthony Gordon, the two architects. Isak scoring twice. He's becoming a real favourite with Newcastle fans. Gordon with 1 goal and 1 assist, and Fabian Schär adding the exclamation mark for the 4th goal. The first time that Spurs have been kept scoreless in 43 matches. So that puts them behind Aston Villa now in terms of the race for that 4th spot. And Ange Postecoglou's team have still got to play Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea and Manchester City in their final few games. So it's difficult for them. It's not beyond the realms of possibility, but it's going to be tough for them to get 4th.
Important win for the Bees. Brentford 2-0 winners over Sheffield United. They were just sort of in and around that relegation zone for the 3rd spot, Brentford. But when you take on the bottom side, you've got to make sure you grab all 3 points, and they did that nicely.
Yep, which pushes out the gap between them and the bottom 3 to 10 points with only 6 to play. I think Brentford will be okay. You're right that they've had a horrible run. They too have been struggling with injuries, and of course they lost Ivan Toney for a decent chunk of the season as well. And they had to be patient against the bottom club, Sheffield United. An own goal providing the breakthrough, Oliver Arblaster, the young Sheffield United defender, and then one in stoppage time from Frank Onyeka off the bench to ease those relegation fears. That's their first home win since January. And it's one that, of course, pushes Sheffield United closer to the drop. They're now 10 points adrift. And as I say, only 6 games to play. I can't see them getting out of that, to be honest.
Burnley and Brighton, 1-1 draw here. All the action happened between the 74th and the 80th minute. 1 for Burnley in the 74th for Brownhill. Then Muric was good enough to equalise for Brighton in the 79th minute. All things considered, the Clarets be happier with 1 point than none.
Well, I think they'll be more disappointed with the 2 that they lost, given that they led thanks to Brownhill. Another horrible error from Muric, the goalkeeper. That's his 2nd in a week, by the way. He threw one in against Everton last week that allowed the Toffees to secure a 1-0 win. So, the old saying is you've got to win your home games, or at least some of them. Burnley have lost 11 times at Turf Moor, and yes, they didn't lose yesterday, but it's wins they need, really, rather than draws. And again, just looking at the fixture list, they've got Manchester United and Tottenham still to come in their last few games. It's going to be a hard task for Burnley to escape relegation. I think they're going to go down with Sheffield United, which is unfortunate because I think their performances in many of the matches have actually been okay, but yeah, you can't keep handing the opposition goals like they did again yesterday.
It was a handy point for Notts Forest, 2-2 against Wolves.
One that keeps them above water in terms of the bottom 3. They're 1 ahead of Luton, who of course lost to Manchester City. Again, I think that they will view it as 2 points lost. Their coach or manager, Nuno Espirito Santo, describing it as a missed opportunity. They led through Morgan Gibbs-White, Wolves equaliser through Mateus Cunha, and then Forest retook the lead thanks to Danilo, but Cunha got his 2nd and an equaliser to earn a point for Wolves. Forest have got a massive 6 points next week. They go to Everton, who are also in that dogfight. Luton host Brentford the same weekend. So there's still a bit to play, and that 3rd relegation spot is still open, but Forest unfortunately just can't pull away from the battle at the bottom.
I'll tell you what, it's really special. The relegation zone is something that is unique to football that we don't have in, obviously, AFL across here, Simon. I heard a chat that you had earlier on in the week, and the opportunity for this to be extended into Australian football with the A-League heading forward is something that I think will add so much to that league and really prolongs a lot of club seasons, because as it sits right now, sides like the Perth Glory, for example, when you sort of know that your season's gone and you can't make the playoffs, it's almost the last 4, 5, 6 games of a season can be almost irrelevant. However, when you've got this relegation zone, there's a lot to fight for and still a lot to play for.
Well, it does a few things. First of all, as you mentioned, it gives teams something to play for or to fight against. It adds more meaningful games, which is really important for our youngsters. Because when they go overseas, some of them struggle to adapt to, the real cutthroat environment of European or even Asian football because, Asia and South America, all the other continents have it. There's only us in America that don't do it. I think it's long overdue. I think it would add real interest to our domestic competition and also provide, some penalty for failure as well. We've got some clubs, let's be honest, who are failing at the moment. On and off the pitch. And if they're replaced by progressive clubs with a bit of money in the bank and, a decent stadium and a plan to go forward, well, that's a sporting meritocracy. That's what sport should be all about. It's about competition. It's not an egg and spoon race where you get a certificate just for taking part, or it shouldn't be. So the sooner it comes in, the better. I know the practicalities are difficult in a country the size of Australia, but I think it's something that we've got to bring in sooner or later.
Indeed. Bournemouth 2-2 with Manchester United. Another draw out of the weekend. I guess out of this particular game, the Cherries were in front. It was Man U that were able to level things up. Both of these sides, as it sits right now, United in particular, sort of around that 6th, 7th spot on the table. What have you made of their season overall?
Hugely disappointing, I would imagine, for United fans. They look to have, made some progress in Erik ten Hag's first season. They were competitive, but this year has been so up and down. He still doesn't really, in my opinion, have a discernible style of play. And you look at the last two results, which are really indicative of their season. They get a draw at home to Liverpool, which is a good result given that Liverpool are going for the title and they are ultra competitive in some of the games against the big clubs, and then they go to Bournemouth, who, with respect, United should be beating teams like Bournemouth, and, they struggle even to get a point. They've lost 6 spots to Newcastle with that result. They've won only 1 of the last 7 in the Premier League. The FA Cup semi-final next weekend against Coventry, I think, is season-defining. It's their last chance of silverware or even to get to a major final. But in the league, they've just been way too inconsistent, and I think they just concede too many goals as well. Maybe that's an area, well, I'm sure it's an area that Erik ten Hag is looking at if he's there next season.
OK, let's have a look at these games very quickly. Liverpool $1.19 should get it done against Crystal Palace, you would think, at $13. West Ham at $2.38, Fulham at $2.85, and then Arsenal play Villa, $1.27, the Arsenal, and Aston Villa at $10.50.
Yeah, let's run through those games. Liverpool, strong favourites at home to Crystal Palace. Although, of course, they are looking for a response after a real capitulation at home to Atalanta in the Europa League during the week. They were beaten 3-0. But Palace have been poor on the roads. No win in any of their last 10 road trips. And Liverpool haven't lost any of the last 17 meetings with Crystal Palace. Their injuries are starting to heal a little bit, which has been a problem for Jurgen Klopp. Diogo Jota should be back today. I think Liverpool will win that one quite comfortably. The London derby between West Ham and Fulham probably offers the best value for a draw. West Ham played in Europe during the week. They lost 2-0 to Bayer Leverkusen in the Europa League quarter-final. And even though they've got a good home record against Fulham, they haven't lost there against the Cottagers since 2001. They do tend to struggle in games backing up from European matches, and they're still without Jared Bowen, their main striker. So that might offer a little bit of value for a draw. The other game, Arsenal-Aston Villa, of course, both teams have got plenty to play for. Villa handed the initiative in that race for fourth by Spurs' defeat overnight. You'd have to say Arsenal are very strong favourites, particularly at home. They've taken 31 points from a possible 33 in the calendar year. Only that draw against Manchester City, they're blocked on their copybook. But you never know. Villa are a good side these days, and they've got Ollie Watkins, who's banged in the goals, 18 this season. But you've got to say that more than likely it'll be an Arsenal win, and we're back to as you were at the top of the table.
Lots going on in the A-League as well, Simon. What about the Sydney Derby? It was absolute chaos late in the piece with Kucharski scoring in the 98th minute to give Sydney FC a 2-1 victory.
Yeah, brilliant derby. Typical derby action. Fast, furious, frenetic at times. And all this late drama. Fabio Gomez looked to have won it for Sydney, and then Zach Sapsford in stoppage time scoring again in the derby. He scored the winner at Allianz earlier on in the season. And then Jadon Kucharski popping up with that 98th minute winner, a shot that, almost apologised before it dribbled over the line. So Sydney's spot in the finals all but confirmed. And the Wanderers now sort of nervously looking over their shoulder. Melbourne City play Perth later today. If Melbourne City win that one, then basically it's on the meeting between the two in Parramatta next week. So a terrific end to the season, particularly in that race for the top 6 spots. But, that was terrific TV last night. A great advert for the A-League, the Sydney Derby.
Magnificent. Simon, appreciate your time as always on this Sunday morning here on The Aftermath. Have a ripper Sunday. Look forward to our chat next week.
Cheers, guys. Have a good week.
There he is, Simon Hill, as he is every Sunday morning on The Aftermath. About to catch up with Jack Turnbull from Kieran Ma. Boys, who is the premiership favourite at the moment? John from Crawley. Giants $5, Sydney $6.50, Carlton $7.50, Melbourne $8, Brisbane $8.50, Collingwood $10, Port $10, Geelong $11. Gee, you could play around with that market a bit, Shorty, couldn't you?
What it does do, it shows you how open and how quickly things can change. You said it yourself only some 20 minutes ago with the Giants there yesterday. Key injuries to 3 or 4 personnel for almost any side in the roster. It brings you back to the pack pretty quickly, and it's a long season.
The Aftermath, every Sunday morning from 6 o'clock on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
Buckaroo and Cascadians last of all. This is unbelievable. Pride of Jenny about 30 lengths in front in the Queen Elizabeth Stakes. She keeps going, coming up the rise. At the moment, Mr. Brightside is being challenged by Kovalika, and then came Buckaroo, Via Sistina. She's winding up. She's getting to second, but Pride of Jenny at the 200. My goodness, 15 in front. Declan Bates goes for the whip, riding her right out. There's no need. This is a demolition job. Pride of Jenny in the Queen Elizabeth Stakes. My, oh, my.
Well, it was a massive day for Kieran Ma Racing. Jack Turnbull's the main man there behind Kieran. He joins us on The Aftermath this morning. Hi, Jack.
Morning. How are you?
We're well over here. Can I just ask you, there's been a lot of talk on our text line and talk back about the other jockeys failing to understand that race, and that they've left their runs too late. What's been the talk internally about the rides of the other jockeys? I know it doesn't mean anything to you. You've won the race. You've won the Group 1. She's done it again, Pride of Jenny. But what are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, it made for a good spectacle post-race. I wasn't there myself, but I was quickly on the phone to Kieran, and it sounded like there was a lot of finger pointing and blaming going on. But I think, just in the whole of it, the jockeys behind her failed to tack up and take the rest of them into the race. Everyone knew she would go forward, but and she did more than what she normally does. Like, she did over-travel for a period of the race, but that probably ended up amounting to her victory. So the race just got simply away on them, and just mathematically you can't make up 39 lengths, which I think she was in front by at one stage.
Jack, I think what I loved out of it is listening to the chat they had with Declan post-race. He understands it really well, and he said, look, most of the time, we're in synergy, and I try and keep her happy. He said, but yesterday was almost like it just went on to autopilot, and she took charge. And he said, I wasn't going to fight it, and at the end of the day, it proved to be that winning manoeuvre. But I guess it's a great indicator of how important it is to have that really good association and understanding between the animal and the jockey.
Yeah, it means so much. You would like to do that, but you're always afraid of a horse not being able to sustain a gallop like she did yesterday. But she played up before the race, which she hasn't in the past. Early days when she was with her previous trainers, she was a difficult filly, but she seemingly has grown out of that. But whether it was the crowd or just wellness, I think she flicked him off before the race at the top of the straight, and she had to go to the barriers with the pony, which is not normally like her. So she was in some mood, but it still didn't affect the way she ran.
Okay, do you know how she pulled up and what's next for her?
She's pulled up fine. She went to the beach this morning with 6 others of ours, 8 up, which is amazing. She's a very tough mare, and she'll obviously have a few quiet days and head back to Cranbourne in the next 48 hours, and then she'll be on her way back to her owner's farm, Tony Otterbray. So she will have a break and then be set for the Spring Carnival.
Some preparation.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I said yesterday at Bendigo when I got interviewed post race with one of ours. It's been, in the last 9 months, it's been the making of her, and she's shown glimpses of being classy. There's no doubt about that. But since the Spring Carnival, when she won the Empire Rose and the Champions Mile, she's just come on so much, and the figures she can run to now is just elite, and it's world class. And fingers crossed, she hopefully can maintain that or scarily improve.
Cox Plate for her?
That's Tony's main goal and ours as well. So that'll be our main target. The whole point of running in the Australian Cup and yesterday was to, I guess, condition her for 10 furlongs and just see if it was possible. And now that we have achieved that and ran terrific in the Oz Cup, that'll be our main goal.
Melbourne Cup for Circle of Fire?
Yeah. He'll have a break now. He's done a terrific job. He's done it all in one prep. So to win the Chairman's and then back up and do it all in one swing just goes to show how much talent he does have. He was wide yesterday. He still needs to just come back to his rider a touch. He travels a bit firm, but with the weight he had and with Andrea in the saddle, he was dominant yesterday.
It was a stunning win, really tough and strong from the horse to still be strong to the line after travelling in the run and covering extra ground was huge. Just quickly, Jack, this was a very emotional win for Andrea Atzini. We talked about this a little bit earlier on in the program. Can you tell us a little bit about how Andre came about riding this horse there yesterday?
Yeah, so Kieran and Andre are friends and know each other. And from memory, they actually did the paleo event in, I think it's in Spain last year in Europe, and the races run through the streets. And I think from that, they just established a bit of a relationship. They're all friends with Jamie Spencer. And Kieran was just thinking outside the box because at that weight, 51.5, there isn't a lot of opportunities, especially for good, competent riders. And he knew he was sort of back and forth, and he's in good form in Hong Kong, and he went with Andrea.
Extravagant Star looked good at Doomben, and you had a double there at Bendigo. Chorlton Lane was very impressive first up, and Senegalia wins for Colin McKenna. Yeah, great day all round. So 5 for the day, and just nationally for CMO, it was huge. So Cole was at Bendigo. He had a treble for the day. He's in Bold Bastille as well, and Senegalia's just hit good form. And we probably won't aim too high with her just yet. Naturally, black type would be great. He did breed her, but we'll probably just keep sort of wading our way through. And Chorlton Lane, terrific first up. I see him as a handicapper sort of on the doorstep of spring, low down in the weights at that 14 and mile trip.
Jack, it's a busy operation, a huge day, lots of success yesterday, but the operation continues. This is a punting station. Have you got anything for the punters on this Sunday that are tuned into the program they can maybe have a little something on?
We've got Stern Idol. There's not much meat left on the bone in terms of the price, but he runs his races similarly to Jenny, but just over the hurdle. So Deck Ma, who pilots the jumpers in Ballarat, been very happy with him, and as has Willie McCarthy, who's in the saddle. So hopefully he can kick off his jumping campaign, and he'll be onwards to Warrnambool. Love your work, Jack. Appreciate you taking the time with us this morning here on the Aftermath, mate. Pass on our congratulations to Kieran and the remainder of the team. You guys are airborne. Long may it continue. Thank you. Appreciate it.
chase, and then came Hunt the Magic. Further back in the field, Sweet Vivian getting up on the inside, and the rest ahead by Lady Jen. Around the turn they run. Zafira in front, still in the pocket. Flame Trees trying to get out. Hunt the Magic kept it in front. Zafira. Flame Tree's a clear second, and then came Hunt the Magic. Zafira's in front of Flame Tree. Hunt the Magic, and Zafira races home to win it from Flame Tree and Hunt the Magic, and then
that was the finish of the 4-year-old Westbred Mares Classic on Friday night, and Dylan Edgerton-Green, trainer-driver of Zafira, joins us. Well done, Dylan.
Yeah, thanks, boys.
Nice to be catching up with you, Dylan. You had a very talented horse, but when they throw in the pole draw, I'm sure you would have been rubbing your hands together when you saw this draw come out.
Yeah, no, definitely the draw made my job a lot easier. I didn't have to do a Declan Bates and keep him off the bit, but we got the job done from the draw, and the horse proved she was spot on the night.
We're very tight for time here, and apologise for that, Dylan, but where to now for her?
There's a few mares races coming up over the course of the next month, so we'll just keep aiming for them, and hopefully she can get some money along the way.
Put together an outstanding record to this point, 25 starts, 10 wins, a further 6 places, and just seems to be continuing to front up and race really, really well on the way through. You've obviously got a lot of time for the horse. Where can it end up?
Obviously, she's probably not as good as her mother, which was Tricky Dick, a bit of a freak. So, as long as she can keep working her way through the grades, there's a few nice mares races coming up that she should be competitive in. She'll just do the talking. Every time she's gone out and come back, she's come back a little bit better. So, no super future ahead, but probably we'll do a good job in the breeding barn at the end of it.
Wonderful people in the harness racing game. The Moores, Hayley Moore, Jessie Moore involved. No doubt they've had a real thrill with what they've got from the mare to this point in time. Synonymous, of course, with Northern harness racing over the years. They'd be having a real buzz out of this.
Yeah, definitely. Went to the trots last night. They were both there. They didn't make it down on Friday, so they had their celebration at Northern, which was good, and a few of their friends were around and that. So, real good. Everyone was happy.
Hey, Dill, thanks for coming on the show today, and continued success. We've got to get moving towards the news, but I really appreciate you giving us your time this morning.
Thanks for that. You don't want to listen to the news. It's all bad news over the weekend.
It hasn't been the best, has it, particularly in Sydney? There he is. Dylan Edgerton-Green rounds out the aftermath. Shorty, thanks for coming in today. You've been a star. Thank you.